He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minute of the Phantasm, the podcast where we look at what they did to them every minute of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the people, host knows it, Niall McGowan.
I am another person who is also here, John Parker. And I know where, clinging to vengeance leads. To hosting podcasts.
I mean, if anyone knows anything about that, John, it's you.
Oh, yeah.
And also, talking about podcasts and people who know what they're doing with it, we are once again joined by an esteemed guest, one who's been on several previous seasons. It is, of course, the always wonderful Brittany Simon.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think how long has it been? It's probably been a little while. I don't know.
It's been a hot second, honestly. Like at least, gosh, it's been a while. I don't even want to say, but it's been a second. So I'm glad I'm here. Yeah,
because I think you were in for one of the Nora Freeze moments in Batman and Robin. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. Was that the last one? That must have been. Yeah. Because before that, I think it was Poison Ivy, right? Before that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And then I think there was a big gap between the hiatus of that one was accepted. No, but you were on for the hiatus episodes where you did Poison Ivy. Yeah,
that's our most listened to episode ever.
Yeah. Oh my god, love that.
And we don't know why exactly, but we think it's because people see it on YouTube, because we upload the episodes to YouTube, people, as well. Nobody really listens to podcasts on there, but it's there, and people seem to think that they're clicking it and going to get a pirated copy of the full movie, and then they get angry that it's not the movie.
But I think currently it's on like 170,000 watches or something.
So. That's just YouTube. That's not including the other ways. Yeah.
But yeah. So thank you for that.
Poison Ivy too, right? Like everyone wants to watch Poison Ivy, so like.
Well, seemingly everybody is trying. I mean, if anyone from Hollywood is listening, there seems to be a demand to re-release that film. Get it out there. Yeah. The people want it, and it is a good movie.
It is.
Although probably people looking to watch very specific scenes in that movie.
Yeah, probably.
The rest of the movie, they're like, oh, we're not as fussed about all that.
But you know what? Who cares? Exploit those weirdos. Get their money. Yeah.
But we're here today, though, to talk specifically about minute 64 of Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which opens with shit hitting the fan. And it ends a minute later with ANDREA making like a tree and getting out of there.
I see what you did there.
But yeah, Brittany, we touched on it a little bit there in the green room before we started recording, but we are asking the guests about their history of Mask of the Phantasm because it is so acclaimed. But you had a little switcheroo in your experience of watching it, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I was watching it and I'm thinking, oh, hey, I know what happens next, and wait, I know what happens next, and wait, I know the twist. And then I was sitting here like, I've seen this before, and then I was Googling it and trying to figure out what year it came out and why I know it. And then I realized like, oh my gosh, well, this is the whole era. I was watching Batman with my family. And so I was like, oh, well, this makes sense. And then of course it's like all the classic, it's just like classic. And I'm sitting here like, wait a second, I just don't remember names. Mm-hmm. So when people say like, oh, have you seen this thing? I'm like, nope, probably not. Even when it comes to books, people are like, have you read this? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I just read and consume things. I'm such a consumer, but I don't know any of the details of what I consume. I don't know why I'm like this, but I have seen this movie. It is just as good as I remember. And there's a reason why it is considered, I think, the best of one of the best. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's absolutely terrific. Although when you were watching it with your husband, you weren't like ruining the movie for him by going like, "Oh, she's the Phantasm," like way ahead of it happening. Right?
No. Actually, okay, funny enough, he ended up where our schedules ended up not aligning. And so I ended up watching it alone while having a coffee in like a little bagel. So I was having a good moment. I was like, oh yeah, this is vibes. This is good. It's so good. The animation looks so good. I can tell. Did I watch a remastered version? It just looks so nice.
I know it's coming out in 4K now in like September sometime. So yeah, it'll look even better the next time.
I still have no means of watching 4K content though, so it doesn't mean anything to me. It's like, oh, great for the people who can. I haven't got a 4K TV.
But I mean, in particular though, even the beginning of this minute is like this shot of the bat bike hitting this giant fan or the turbine or whatever you want to refer to it as is so spectacularly well animated. It's so detailed. That I know you're a big anime person. Yeah,
Brittany. Yeah, I love it.
I was getting real extreme. Like this is again like into Akira and all that kind of level of animation where like it's so like there's obviously probably different studios working on the layers. Like so they probably have some people doing the turbine and then other people are brought in to add in the electricity and stuff coming on. But just together, it's one of those things. Like every time I try to watch like in the little minute clips, I think it's so detailed. The clip always freezes on that shot for me. It's like it's almost like information overload for my internet or something. Like every time I try to watch it on my phone or my tablet or whatever, it always sort of brain farts out for a second doing that, and then the rest of it kicks back in and the minute continues. But yeah, just I think it's a spectacular shot.
It's a great minute, honestly. I mean, obviously, I want to dive into the psychology of it all, or even the self-fulfilling prophecy, or there was so much to this film in general, but even like this 1 minute says so much about just who they are as people, right? And so I definitely want to get into that with you guys, but I don't want to rush the conversation, so don't let me lead it. I am so excited.
No problem at all. No. It's because basically after that, before we get to that conversation, we have a whole thing with like it's just one of those things of like Batman having the nicety of being able to prep, because like the thing, it crashes, blows up, and then Batman lands just on his feet perfectly, and then Andrea just plops down next to him because I guess she didn't see it coming, and then the third thing of the big thing just landing in between them, and like good thing that didn't hit them, I guess, because that could have been like after all that she just gets flattened by the thing. It's like, oh well, guess she's dead then.
It's a bit of a crazy plan, like to just throw your bike into this giant fan. Like, yes, that'll solve the problem. Anything could have happened, man.
Yeah, totally. I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's the first thought I had. Right when I saw him driving up, I was like, oh yeah, throw the bike into it, bro. But like, why is that? Isn't that in every movie where they put something, you just figure something big inside of it, whether or not it would work. But then I thought, how's he going to get away? I did think like, is this our only vehicle right now? Is this like, are we getting rid of our only getaway vehicle?
That's true.
But Batman is always... prepared. He always has 8 other layers to his plan. He's probably got some way of calling some other vehicle to him.
It's also just fulfilling though that thing of, and I think it's 5 for 5 now of introduce a vehicle in the movie and it gets blown up because 89 Batwing gets shot down by the Joker. What's it called, the bat ski boat? Yeah, the thing you go into crashes that into the Penguin's duck boat. So actually, that might have survived. It was the Penguin's duck boat that got demolished, but Batman's ride might have been okay. Batman Forever, I think you were on for the minutes, actually. Brittany.
Yeah, I remember that. I think this is proof of just how rich Batman is, because he can just like willy-nilly destroy vehicles.
Isn't that what we all want to do with our life? We want to become rich so we can destroy vehicles.
Yeah,
apparently.
That one you get both boat and Batwing destroyed in the same minute, I think. And I think that after Batman and Robin, I think there is like the thing that's, I think Batgirl's bike gets blown up, and because I remember she does that weird jump over to like Dick Grayson's snowplow thing or whatever. It was such an awkward, horrible shot. So they land, and then you actually get a little snippet though, Brittany, of someone. You never got the cover, because I think you came on first for Batman Returns, but we got a little snippet of the Joker there. Yeah, clicking his fingers and then running off, doing like not so much in a, God damn it, no, but it's more of an attitude of like, raspberries. Yeah. Again, it's just part of the course though with Batman, where it's just like, of course he ruined it. It's like, I was so close to just killing this lady. I'm like, okay.
Well, I think his character through the whole movie, but even in like this particular part of it, was like such a cherry on top. You know what I mean? He's just such a vibe that I was sitting here. I was like, honestly, though, this could never not be such a great dynamic.
Yeah.
I do love that about Batman is that it's pretty consistent in terms of theme. You know what you're getting. You're getting the same thing, but it feels so rewarding by the end of it. And I don't know why that is. I've always wondered why DC is more interesting than Marvel to some extent, but then Marvel's more like, maybe it's like the vibes of the darkness. Like even when the film opens up, the darkness of it, the like moodiness of it is so enjoyable. And I just love that contrast with the Joker.
Yeah.
He's so dark but so fun. Like I can't help but feel kind of happy.
It puts you in like
there.
a tough position, like mentally. Like, oh, okay, he's horrible and horrific and evil, but he's so fun.
So fun.
Well, I think I remember the background, Brittany, and I think some of your older videos, you used to have a painting of Heath Ledger's Joker. Did you do that yourself? Or
No,
was that...
oh my gosh, no. My sister found an artist who was painting it in the moment, like with a spray can, and asked if she could buy it because she knows how much I loved The Dark Knight and I love Joker as a concept. And so she was like, "Oh, I'll buy this for my sister." So like, no, and I did not paint that. But yeah, it's a really great little painting. But yeah, there's something, I mean, about look, like you look at the Joker, all variations of him, and without a doubt, he knows what he's doing, but yet he's like insane. And there's something about that that's really unnerving, but also just perfect for Batman because Batman knows what he's doing, but he's kind of crazy, as we see even in this film.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Right?
He's unhinged in this finale. He gets into some really crazy territory.
The trauma.
Yeah. But no, because we. You do a lot more now, like in terms of your contents, all into philosophy and politics and stuff like that. But you used to be really focused on sort of BDSM culture and fetishism and stuff. And I couldn't help it. It was one of those things of like, oh, Brittany's coming on. I just had to bring up the whole current trend apparently is happening of Clussy and clown girls and coldophilia. I think I know someone who's like big on it. As my friend Danica. Because she has a burlesque clown character she does called Sobby. Oh. And she's told me several times too, like oh yeah, she's been with guys who have clown fetishes.
Oh, okay.
And
that's interesting.
And they've been the happiest they've ever been is like them having sex and then them coming back with like her makeup all smeared on their face, and it's just like this is just bliss and stuff like that.
I kind of get the makeup smeared on the face thing. I kind of get that. I'm not into clowns, though. I love Harley, but I'm actually like kind of unnerved by clowns.
Oh, really? Really? You're colophobia, not colophilia.
A little bit. They kind of make me nervous. I think it's the paint. I think it's the idea of like them being so in character. You just don't know what you're dealing with. Like, I think that's why, again, Joker's so alluring. It's like, what's behind the mask? Even Batman, what's behind the mask? Yeah. Is it like dangerous or is it just thrilling? And it's like, oh my gosh.
I did note that apparently, because obviously when It came out, there was a big boom and like all the clowns standing on street corners and people got all freaked out about it.
No, thank you.
But apparently someone did a study saying that went to Pornhub and found that clown porn searches went up 213% after the release of It.
People were really into what's his name, Skarsgård.
Yeah,
there's too many Skarsgårds. I don't know which is which.
Yeah. Billy,
they're all kind of a vibe.
Yeah. Oh, not him, because he's just like, the natural successor to Steve Buscemi. He's got Steve Buscemi eyes. It's right there. But
and I think he's got a very interesting grin. And I think people find that a little bit alluring. Like even when he's dressed as Pennywise, it's like, oh. I
think that's one of those things. Like he does some of those things, like that weird, the way his lips go and that smile, and some of the things he does with his eyes are like, oh, that must be effects. It's like, no, he can do that. That's what got him the job. So he can do this really creepy smile, and he can do like you can make it one eye look one way and one eye look the other way, and he was bringing things like that to his audition.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? When you see like there's a famous clip of him just dressed normal on like a chat show and he does the smile and it's like, oh my god,
he's Buscemi plus this guy.
I think, I don't know where I read it or who said it, but someone said like I like a little fear with my sex, and I was like, oh, okay, well that's like one way to think about it, and maybe that has to do with the clown stuff. Maybe people like to be like 5% a little like maybe it's the thrill. It's not really like afraid. It's like the thrill of like, oh, what will happen next? And so like a kind of mischievous grin can lead to mystery. And so maybe there's something there.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
It is a thing too. It's just like, because I again knew people who were like really into Heath Ledger's Joker, like romantically interested in him.
Oh yeah.
I think that's partly the attitude, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I guess it would be. But it's also like a clown fetish is like we kind of did a little study earlier in the season of it. It's understandable why people are afraid of clowns, because it's this permanent grin kind of cuts off empathy, because this thing just always looks like it's smiling at you, so you can't trust what it's really thinking and stuff like that. But being attracted to a clown is just like, is it just because it's like all rules are gone? Like if you look, I looked a little bit into it, and you get like things like there's clown escort services now.
Oh.
Where you could just hire like a clown to come, service you. I guess, and the pictures for them are like blowing up the balloons and then sucking on them as if it's like, a phallus and things like this. And it's all very like it's apparently people saying like, oh no, they use the materials when they're in there. It's like the rubber chickens. The mallets, all that stuff is coming into the to the play.
That's fun. It's almost like, it's a different take on kink.
Yeah,
hitting someone with a
absolutely.
rubber mallet.
It's just an evolution, I guess. Yeah. And of course, we even have, and the other way. Then we had, earlier in the movie, Joker obviously has a bit of a robot fetish too, because whatever he's up to with Hazel, the robot, is just like,
love her vibes. She was so great. She was iconic the whole time.
He does seem to imply that they have a thing.
Yeah. I was frustrated though, because we did a minute on her, and John, you had done all this research into like what would happen if the Joker was electrocuted mid-coitus, basically. What that would do.
I had to look up the penile strength, like the way it can resist electricity and things.
But then I was just thinking, as I was editing, it's like, oh, maybe that's what he's into. Maybe that's what half of what he's using that hand buzzer is for. It's like when he's alone, at night, he's just like, he wants to give himself a little. People are into electro play.
I was about to say, it's not a joke. It is, it's quite. I don't want to say a common thing, but it's, it's out there.
For sure. I mean, I've done stuff like that for sure.
Oh. With not with hand buzzers, I'm assuming, but probably with something a little more.
They have so many different devices nowadays. It's amazing, but there's a lot of ways to transfer a little zing into your onto your skin. But I will say that it takes a very specific kind of person to like it, because it does feel very like unnerving, like ticklish almost, if that makes sense. It's weird. It hurts, but it also tickles. So it's like confusing.
I don't know if I'd be into. I hate being tickled. It's not my thing.
Fair.
No.
Okay, but wait. What if you want to be tickled so much that you like cry, like when the Joker hits you? You know what I mean? You end up laughing hysterically. I thought about that as a kink as I was watching this movie, and I was like, you know what? That could be a thing.
I just assume everything's a thing.
Oh, what do they call it? Rule 37 of the internet or something?
34? Is it?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, if it exists, there is porn of it, and there's definitely.
I agree.
There's very specifically, there'll be porn of every Joker, I can imagine.
Oh, 1,000%. Absolutely.
You'll probably find Cesar Romero Joker porn, if that's your thing.
Why not, And in fact, I we always say we're not kink shaming on this show, but I never really got the clown thing. But I do follow one clown. She doesn't post like porn, but it's more like risque content, because she's actually quite funny with it as well. So I kind of get it. Like, her name's Cummy the Clown.
Oh my god.
Okay.
And no, she seems like fun. So it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I like her Instagram.
I've noticed. I think Instagram is a big boom, but not so much in terms of, but just people love doing clown style. I remember there's a lady called Shandy Lions, and she just puts together all these clown outfits and all this really original makeup and stuff. And it is for it's not like hot, but it's just like, oh, this is cool to look at though. It's just how creative it is as a force. So
on makeup TikTok, clown makeup is like very popular because it's very hard to do very, very well. And so it's very popular on makeup TikTok.
I could see that. And it's very, very bold. So when you're scrolling, it's like, oh, it catches your eye, doesn't it? It's not just someone doing their eyeshadow.
I know there's a rule. I know because it got emphatically sort of blasted back to it, but by my friend Donica, because she was like outraged when she found someone had copied her clown makeup. But apparently it's the thing that professional clowns have to do your makeup design on an egg.
Yep.
and then like basically kind of like copyright it. They come in and go like, this is my clown face, and no one else can do this specific face because that is my clown, that is my character and stuff.
Allegedly, they keep all the eggs in some kind of like vault somewhere.
It's like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something.
I think I've heard that too, because it's funny because I do have a few burlesque people in my audience, and there is something about like your image is your brand. I could totally imagine that with clown world. Like that must be a thing, right?
Yeah, I wonder though when they do live action Jokers and stuff, or even would it even be the same in animation? Do they have to go like, well, he's our clown character, so we have to send someone down to do the egg, and then go like, this is Jack Nicholson's Joker. No one can copy this exact look because it's now. Although because it's Batman and because it's Warner Brothers, they might be more. We have traditional copyright in place, so you can't just copy that.
It does make me wonder. I know a lot of Deadpool cosplayers, and even they try very hard to be like the triple sword Deadpool or the blue Deadpool. They try to stand out because, Deadpool's Deadpool. So it's kind of hard to, how do you know? Because, you're wearing a mask. It's like, how do you know that you're specifically the you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
I do follow one Deadpool cosplayer because they're called Dragpool. So they are Deadpool,
Cool.
but they're also in drag. It's like how have you combined these two things? It's amazing.
Love that.
Imagine someone keeps contacting them though to like drag their pool. It's like, can you be here tomorrow morning? Like, no, that's not what I do. But also, how much are you paying? Because maybe I could use the money.
Yeah, within reason, I'd be the same. I'd be open for anything.
But yeah, because to get back to the minute at hand though, and the real meat of it. We do have Joker running off with his little finger click. I have to say, better than Poison Ivy's curses.
I love the curses. I love any really corny, old-fashioned dialogue like that.
It's been a year and a half later, still don't know how she was defeated at the end of that movie. Just like her own flower eats her. Why? and how did she know it was going to do that when she lands on it? She lands on it and goes curses, as if like this is going to happen.
Well, it's an evil flower.
Yeah, but she was sitting in it as a chair earlier. Like, what the hell? Why would it turn on?
It doesn't make a goddamn lick of sense.
Maybe it's like a metaphor for like we create the self-fulfilling prophecy, much like ANDREA in this film. Maybe it's like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good segue. Because then we get into Batman finally comes out and the sort of cards on the table thing here of like explaining. This is the closest we get in the movie to him having like revelation. We kind of complained that like there is no scene where we emotionally connect to Bruce in that he realizes, my God, Andrea has been the Phantasm this whole time. They kind of dodge around it, but this is the closest to the minute where he's going like, I now know that it is you, and I'm going to explain for the people at home what has actually been going on here.
That's the only problem. It's like he's saying it to her as if there was a scene earlier where he's put it all together. It's not like he's putting it together in, he hasn't just put it together now. It's like, I know you're a piece of crap now. But
I don't know if he even like how much he condemns her for it as well.
Because he understands, I think.
Yeah, because it's basically she's going through the thing he went through. So first of all, it comes out with the whole like, your father's dead, isn't he? You came into town early so you could murder Chucky Saul. But then I guess you would also have to add in the thing we had to contend with, like, you came into town early to murder Chucky Saul, then you left town again, I guess, and then got a flight, and then called someone to be like, I'm on the flight, okay, I'm definitely in the air right now, I don't know anything about Chucky Saul, etc., etc. And they got all the things, and then where did you put your car? Did you have to rent a car to come into town? What was the car that you had? That was the car you had like 10 years ago, but you're driving around now. Was it in storage? How are you doing this? What's going on here? But anyway, that's all. The problems a movie by minutes commentator has to contend with on the day to day. But yeah, so you came into town early to murder Chucky Saul, so you could shift the blame to your father if you had to, which is it opens up a whole barrel of worms for me just in terms of like. Andrea's getting revenge for her father, but also isn't that by doing that, isn't she also like defiling his name by being like
right? I was thinking that's like putting it all on him is a bit mean. But then again, he was a piece of crap, who really put her life in danger. So screw him.
But he made good on it. You know, people can be people can. I used to be a piece of shit, John, but people can change.
People can change.
Slick back hair.
Here's the question I
jeans.
had the whole time. I was so confused. She's literally dating like Bruce Wayne, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, so he's like rich, right?
I know we had that like when how quickly she wants him to meet her dad. It's all very like, Andrea, if you can get this guy in.
Yeah.
But like,
then we're in the free and
literally,
clear.
why didn't they use him as a resource? Like, I'm so confused. I was like, did you think that he's rich? Like, he like, I don't understand why we're not using him as
I
a
think
source.
our friend, our guest, one of those minutes, Brett Stillo, put it as like Carl Beaumont saying, "I don't think of it so much as losing a daughter as gaining a trust fund."
I think things have just gone too beyond at that point. Anyway, even Bruce Wayne's money wouldn't solve this.
I think at that point, I think he is trying to like. Andy's very naive at that point. I don't know if she's aware that like her dad's in trouble. You know, and also it would look bad of like, yes, I got engaged to this guy. Now please lend my father a couple of $1,000 to get him out of debt that these gangsters involved with.
Oh, but
Bruce
it was
would
better
probably be
to
like,
give him back the ring.
I guess that's true. I guess she could have. Oh, she should have hawked that ring. I guess that
Oh,
might
that's
have
true.
coming into Sal Valestra like, Sal, take this ring. Like, oh, Carl, I never thought you would ask, but yes, I do. There's your other movie right there. Your Elseworlds movie right there. Like the Valestra Beaumont couple, where he's just like, I mean, I wasn't into it, but it got me out of debt, so I guess I'm married to Sal Valestra.
I felt really bad for Bruce though, because she was such a vibe and they were kind of really liking each other. But at the same time, there was like a naivety to her that I think would be very frustrating for Bruce in a way, because, or maybe it was her connection to it all. Like, why she self-sabotaged so hard. Like, I mean, he did too. I mean, he had trauma. It's Batman. But at the same time, I was kind of sad for him. I was sad for him more than her. If that makes sense.
Well, that's go back a bit too. Like, theoretically, Brittany, would you rather be like remembered as an innocent person who was murdered, but like a good person overall? Because Carl Beaumont did pay them the money back, and he made good and all this stuff. And I guess he probably learned from his lessons. And he seems like he was a good dad. He's a good man. Just got involved with the wrong people, and then he tried to make up for it. Or would you be okay with, like, yes, I'm now remembered as a murderer who took vengeance on these people and went around and did a whole bloodbath?
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is like, why was she even... Well, that's the problem with vengeance in general, right? Yeah. It's usually coming from a really dark and unkind place. Like, you're not thinking about it from the place of like, this is life, and sometimes life goes badly. So I think ultimately you'd want to live within your values, which I assume doesn't involve murder.
Not to most people, I would think.
Yeah.
You know.
So like, let's not murder and then ruin our dad's reputation that way. You know what I mean? Because it was already could have been ruined by the fact that he got involved with them in the first place. That was already something that could have been a blemish on his reputation. But now he's possibly living with the reputation of, quote unquote, like murdering multiple. But that's insane.
Yeah,
like, I would never. No, like, that's not cool.
But they're bad people. It's fine.
The whole thing then too. I guess after she killed the Joker, she should just vanish, because presumably, it doesn't go into the details, but I guess it would have to be that they fled America, they moved to Europe, much like yourself, Brittany. Actually, weirdly enough.
I don't think you were fleeing, though.
No, like, I've multiple people now. I know another guest of ours is like, yeah, she used to be an actress in L.A. Now she works for the National Trust in Manchester, and she's much happier.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I really love being here.
But I guess though, when they moved, he had to set up a whole other identity, because like when she found him, they had a house. Like, when she found his body, did she bury him under the name Carl Beaumont, or were they there like as like the Phantasms or something?
That'd be amazing. Carl Phantasm.
Wait, actually, maybe I missed it. How did he die?
There's a bit where there's a flashback just before she goes in to kill the Joker, where she remembers coming home, and then Proto Joker, like the tall man, as they refer to him in the script, he comes out of the house and just walks past her, and she's like,
okay,
"Oh no, but he paid you." And she goes in, you just hear her screaming.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, yeah. Okay.
And presumably he's done something like really horrific to him.
I think, like, I said at the time as well, I love that we don't see the body, because I like to then you can imagine, like, oh god, what the hell did he do?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like he just shot him. Like, he probably, because the Joker, he probably did something pretty vindictive to him. But in that whole life, like, Yeah, is Carl Beaumont, did he have a burial, or did she just leave him? Did he just, how, I guess it would have been before the Joker came along, because he's pre-Joker there. That happened a couple of years ago. He's been the Joker for a while. So Andrea then was just like hanging by like under an alias, I guess, on the Mediterranean coast. Yeah. Waiting. And then Carl Beaumont, or whoever, Carl Phantasm, or F.Lee Ingman, fleeing man, was he's just been publicly dead for whatever, and then she's been I'm just curious as to what was going on over there in Europe when she was like putting the pieces back together. Yeah. And I guess sitting stewing, just like, I'm gonna go back to Gotham and get them, but I just need to wait a couple of years because for whatever reason. Or maybe she did get over it, or maybe she went through years of trying to repress it or whatever, and then it just cracked one day and was like, no, I'm going to go back and pretend to be my dead dad as a ghost. Yeah.
I hate that line she says to Batman when she's like, look what he did. Look what they took away from us. We could have been like, almost like we could have been something. And I was like, girl, you could have literally just like told him what's up. And then, am I too weird where I'm like, just be honest with him, girl?
yeah, totally. She is, again, the reverse mirror image of Batman, where like he could still he could be fully functioning entrepreneurial good man Bruce Wayne, using his family well. Obviously he does use his family well for good, but he could be like just a proper social, an active social gadfly going around and just being the most benevolent man ever. But he's choosing to be Batman, and
because he's. I don't mean this as a joke. Because he's mentally ill.
Yeah. I mean, he says it. He says he's monologuing to himself, and he says like, the police can get more money, and like they can take care of it. Like he's having that battle with himself, which I think is like really common with a lot of people who are torn between two identities or multiple identities. It's like, which version of me do I want to primarily be?
But because it does lead into like one of the most on the nose and one of the biggest burns ever to Batman. Because she does have that thing of like, look at what we could have had. Look at what they did to us. And it just really reminded me too, because Andrea's actions really remind me of. Did you see Promising Young Woman when it came out, Brittany? A couple of years ago, the Carey Mulligan movie where she's like going around like attacking sexual assaulters and stuff.
No, I don't. No, I know who that is. It's an actress, but no, I don't know that film. I can't think of it.
Oh, well, I think that'd be one I'd imagine just for your own channel. It would be a really fascinating thing for you to. Cause
sounds interesting.
It's like she goes out because her friend was assaulted and ended up through depression, ended up killing herself. So Carey Mulligan was like a medical student, decides then to go out to nightclubs and seduce men to coming back to her house. And then she basically terrorizes them into like, look, I know what you're doing. I know you were planning to like date rape me, all this kind of stuff.
Okay, and well, I'll Google that.
Yeah, I know, it's great. I love that the title's got multiple things in it tying into this because of like what we could have had, like because of this quest for vengeance. Carey Mulligan was a promising young woman who threw it all away, and also her friend was a promising young woman who basically was kind of by proxy murdered because of what happened to her, and then the depression made her kill. But then also she is a promising young woman in that she is promising something to entice these men into her boudoir, and then then she springs a trap on them. But it's a fascinating movie, and I remember it was a big stir when it came out and stuff. But
Margot Robbie produced it.
Yeah. I remember there was a controversy because people were saying. So I think a very esteemed New York Times critic said the problem with the film is that Margot Robbie should have starred in it because Carey Mulligan isn't attractive enough for this role.
What? How dare! How dare!
Yeah, and it was a real thing. Like people were like, just like you did. They're not like, how dare you say that? But also the whole thing too is that maybe like, she's not Margot Robbie attractive, but maybe also the fact that she's just like, it could be any woman could come out and do this because these men are just dogs who are just looking to assault anybody. Maybe that was part of the thing of the movie, but fascinating movie, Brittany. I would highly recommend.
Noted. Thank you.
But yeah, it just really made me think of that, just that line of like, look at what we could have had. But again, though, could they have? I guess they could have had that because Bruce was like ready to give it all up to be.
That's what I'm saying. They could have had it. Like That's why I'm saying, why didn't she, when you talk about marriage, as somebody who's like professionally doing it now, I will say like
being married your job now? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's my best profession, but like it is literally you. I mean, depending on how you do your marriage, you're like confiding and trusting that person to help you handle your problems.
Yeah.
And like she doesn't do that, but like neither does he. They're both, like you said, they're a mirror of each other. They're constantly, but they're like, they could have had something great if they both had a therapist.
Again, they're so close, but they're just missing the mark. It's not going to work with them the way they are, which I suppose we see where that ends up. But
no.
I mean, I find it hard to argue with things she's saying as well. Because they did take everything from her. She wasn't connected to this really, other than, that was her dad. She's lost everything for no reason.
It makes it seem though like she's they were very like almost like codependent father and daughter though, because it's like that was all you had, was like you didn't have any friends, you didn't have.
No, but she's had to leave her friends. She's had to leave everything behind because she would have been killed as well.
That would be part of the healing though. You went to the Mediterranean coast, you make new friends. You get up and just move again. That's the whole like Batman can't move on, she can't move on.
Plus, I got the impression that even in the Mediterranean, they were like keep a low profile. Don't you go to the shop and get your baguettes that you bring back, and that's it. That's it.
It's but of course then she comes out with the ultimate burn to back to Bruce's, because he says but Andy, what will vengeance solve? And she's like, well, if anyone knows the answer to that, Bruce, it's you.
Oh.
Which is just like, oh my, and even he has a kind of thing of like, I guess you got me.
No, you know that meme where it's like when you say something and everyone just starts like running and screaming because it's so on point. That's how I felt. I was like, oh, damn. Like, that's it right there, baby.
You need, Kelso from that 70s show to be like,
literally. Well, there's this like justification that I think Batman gets to have. And a lot of like people who fantasize about being vigilantes have, which is like, but I'm the good guy. And it's like, yeah. But also, like, what are we doing here?
I think everyone in that position thinks they're the good guy,
Yeah.
Well, this thing, though, because it ties in weirdly, because me and John just did a recording the other day for the Riddler tie-in comic with Paul Dano's version of the Riddler. I don't know, did you see the Batman when it came out last year, Brittany? Or
No, with Robert Pattinson?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was actually pretty good, so it's on my list.
I potentially think it might be my favorite Batman movie.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'll definitely make sure I watch it soon.
It's like a biased audience, but like I went into it very much like, we've covered Batman so much. I was like, I'm nearly Batmaned out. You know what? I'm sure this will be okay, but whatever. Wandered into it, and within the first 10 minutes, I was like, there's tears coming out of my eyes. I was like, this is it.
Gosh.
This is how perfectly, it's so perfectly Batman. I love this.
The only problem is I can't definitely say it's my favorite because A, it's still quite new in my mind, and B, it's so opposite of my previous favorite, Batman Returns, that it's like, well, I can't really compare them, even though they're both Batman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, in that movie, I'm sorry, the spoilers for the movie, Brittany, but
Please do.
Batman wins at the end.
What?
Oh my gosh.
But one of the big things is that this is like, it's talking about versions of the character. So the version of Batman that people really love is like Frank Miller's Batman, Dark Knight Returns, where he's just gruff, angry asshole, and is just, the most hardcore of hardcore, will friggin', they'll just brainwash people into being Robin. He's just, he's go out, kick the crap out of Superman, etc., etc. That kind of version of Batman. And that's a take, and that's fair enough. But the journey in the Batman he has, and I noted that like Robert Pattinson, he kept coming out and saying that Mask of the Phantasm was a massive influence on the film. And some people were like, he's just saying that because everyone knows Mask of the Phantasm is regarded as like one of the best Batman movies. It's lip service. But I wonder if he's actually going. It's from scenes like this, because throughout that whole movie, you'll see in the trailer and stuff, people are going like, "Oh, who are you?" And he comes out and he's like, "I'm Vengeance." And throughout the rest of the movie, like the Penguin always mockingly refers to him as like, "Hey, Vengeance!" And everyone's kind of taking the like Catwoman's flirtatiously going like, "Well, hello, Vengeance," and all this sort of stuff. And his whole big thing is that people are terrified of him. The criminals, some of them are mocking him because he's like, "Oh, friggin' Mr. Vengeance over here." So the normal people he's trying to help are petrified of him. So when he saves them, they're like, please don't hurt me and stuff like that, because he's this big bat monster to them. But by the end of the movie then, when he's seen like the Riddler's whole thing is that the Riddler is inspired by Batman. He thinks like, yeah, I hate the city too. We need to tear down this whole thing because it's all horrible, it's all corrupt, and you, Batman, have inspired me to become the Riddler. And vengeance, that's what we're all about, right? And Batman sees that and then sees that the Riddler's inspired a whole army to dress up like him as well. And he's like, oh my God, what have I done? At the end of it, it's like Batman saving a bunch of people from a flooded building, leading them out by this big bright light that he's holding, and then helping people into hospital, into like ambulances, and getting airlifted and stuff. And he's there amongst the people, being a symbol of hope. And his narration is all like, I have to be more than vengeance. I have to be, something for people to aspire to, rather than I can be feared by criminals, but I need to be like a symbol of hope for the city. And it's beautiful, and I really love that in the movie. And I was like, they've never really done that with the other films. It's always just a bit more basic. And there's things like, it goes throughout, like, Batman here finding out, like, he's been going around in that cartoon show going, his big famous line is like, I am vengeance, I am the knight, I am Batman. And now it's bit him on the ass right here, because she's just like, that's your whole deal, right? And it's weird because, and Paul Dini's, one of the writers of this movie, Paul Dini, his version of Batman specifically, if you look at some of the episodes that he wrote, is always very much, he's much more caring and much more about the people. And it's really beautiful to see. Like, there's an episode called Lockup where you find out that one of the prison guards in Arkham is horrifically abusive to all the inmates. And like, he's abusing Harley Quinn, he's abusing the Scarecrow. They're all terrified of this guy because he like electrifies the beds. He's just doing things just to punish them because they're scum and stuff like that. And Batman comes in to stop all this, and at the end he has a whole thing about, like, I've seen how you treat your people, forgotten and scared, without hope or compassion. And, I was born to fight your brand of justice. Ooh. Which makes him out to be more like, he's a good guy. He's a big, scary bat monster, but he cares about the victims, he cares about the people, he cares about the Joker, he cares about Harley Quinn, he cares about the Scarecrow. He wants them all to be redeemed. And it's, and it's just it's a take on the character, because again, even then you have Chris Nolan's version of Batman will say things to Harvey Dent like, you're the symbol of hope for the city that I can never be. Mm-hmm. And you're like, but you're supposed to be the symbol of hope, Bruce, what's going on, man? And
it's just different takes on the character, which is why I like comic books and comic book movies, because you are free to reinterpret it, and that's good and fine and interesting, despite what some fans might think. That's not how Batman acts. Screw you, Batman can act however they want him to act.
yeah it's just I just say that's why I think this version of the character is, from watching this, studying this movie minute by minute, I've gone and rewatched the cartoon, and I rewatched Batman Beyond and Justice League and stuff like that. And there's a very distinct character arc to him where being Batman totally breaks Bruce. Mm-hmm. Like, he starts off as being a guy who really cares about criminals, about crooks, and been like, I'm going to help the city. And I'm going to, it's never too late for anybody. Everyone can be redeemed. Harley's Holiday, where, like, Harley Quinn's released. He's got her back. He's like, I'm going to make sure that you're reacclimatized to society and stuff. I want to help you and stuff. And then by Batman Beyond, he's like a husk of a man. He just hates everybody. Being Batman has completely ground him down to, like, everybody is scum. And there's a Justice League episode where Batman in, like, this timeline goes in and meets Bruce Wayne of the future, and Bruce Wayne of the future is much more intense in interrogating people than he was back when he was younger. And he's just like, friggin' Greenhorn over here doesn't even know how to beat the crap out of a guy with a cane to get answers out of him and stuff.
That's basic, like 101 level stuff. You beat him with his own cane.
But the thing is, then at the end, though, Terry McGinnis, of course, you might recall from Batman Beyond, becomes the new Batman, and the last you ever see of Bruce Wayne is when he's like 90. And he's like making soup for Terry, and been like, oh, make sure to have a warm when you go out tonight. And he really cares about this kid again. He's softened. At the beginning, when we first met Terry, he was like quite happy to let him die by a gang attacking him. And I was like, all right, I better help him. And then at the end, he's probably like, okay, well, the soup I made was cold over there, but whatever. I did that for you, by the way, and stuff like that. But I'm just kind of rambling now about how much I love this iteration of Batman and, like, the character arc that he's been on. But it's all there now, too, like, him being confronted by the aspect of, like, you're a vengeance, right? I'm just doing what you're doing, Bruce. Like, what's the difference between you and me now?
Yeah, it's all about that why, right? It's interesting how we justify our paths in life and how I felt very like connected to Alfred through this whole film, where you're just like, come on, Bruce, like treat yourself with more kindness, treat the situation better, pick something better for yourself. And at the same time, like the justification he makes is kind of like a little bit like, oh, I hate to say this, but like it's a little woe is me. And I'm like, we get it. But same with her, right? It's very much like, look how the world has like almost been cruel to me. But I'm like, yeah, everyone's a statistic, my bro. Like everyone has something bad happen to them to an extent. And I know it's horrible. His parents died. But a part of me is like, get over it. Like a lot of people have their parents die. Like, you know, and then a part of me is like, I understand that how you can carry that burden into adulthood, into success too. Like he can justify his actions to an extent because like, look, I'm wealthy. Look, I'm established. Look, I kept my parents' money. Look, I like help people, or look, I saved the city. It's like this constant justification. And maybe even with her, like, I can do this. They hurt me. And it's like, yeah, but why? Why are we doing this? And does it come from a place that's probably better for us? But then that's what keeps him Batman. Because if he got better, maybe he wouldn't be Batman. And then what would we watch?
Exactly. Where would we be? We'd have no show.
Exactly. And it's all about us because, you know.
Exactly.
I feel a little guilty too because I'm all like, "Oh yeah, Bruce is Batman. Yeah, totally, whatever. Yeah, I'm on board for this." But my whole attitude to Andrea is like, "Just get over it. Come on." So like, your dad got involved with gangsters and he got himself killed. So what? Go off and live your life, would you?
I don't know. I find
Batman's back brooding. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm in for all this, baby."
I do find it tough. I don't know. I'm very torn because she did lose everything. As I said, she had a lovely life ahead of her that was snatched away essentially by her dad being an idiot. She had everything planned out. Oh, I've got the love of my life. We're getting married. It's all going to be wonderful. And then overnight, it was literally like, no, you've got to move away and just live on your own and never have any friends and never see anyone and only eat baguettes.
Yeah,
okay, here's the question then. If you were in her situation, would you have chosen Dad or Bruce?
I think the difficulty is if she chose Bruce, the gang are going to come and get her because they know, oh, well, you're the daughter of the guy, so we'll come and get you in retaliation. So she's going to get killed if she doesn't choose her dad, I think.
But like, am I crazy? Does Bruce Wayne have no power?
I think it might all come from the embarrassment of her having to go, by the way, my dad's involved with all these gangsters.
That's true. I could see that.
And then that could potentially end the relationship because Bruce could be like, well, I don't want to get involved in this. Like,
true.
Yeah, it would look bad to Bruce because he's a businessman and things, you know.
Yeah. So she's like, all right, well, back away, not the disco lady. There's a line reading here, though, as well, that I always found. It's only now that, like, minute by minute, I understand what she's actually saying. Because she says, like, I'm not saying it's all right or even saying. And I always thought she was saying, I'm not saying it's all right, but even say, like, S-A-Y-I-N-G.
Oh,
like,
okay.
As if she kind of got lost in thought, and she was like, I'm not saying it's all right or even saying, and then just sort of like, but she's actually saying, I'm not saying it's all right or even sane.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm doing is insane, basically. Which,
I like the admission of that. Like, she's like, look, I know this is crazy, but you'll kind of understand, right? And he does. And that's why I think, you know, not just their love, but the understanding. That's why he doesn't have the heart to take her in for her crimes. Like, he basically says, look, just go. We'll leave it at that. Go.
I was wondering, too, like, if there has been any, like, that she ever considered at any point of, I guess before the movie starts, she doesn't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman, but she knows that a Batman exists. Would she ever consider going to Gotham being like, I'm just going to contact this guy and go, look, I know who these guys murdered my father. Go get them for me. Like, you're Batman. You can go and, like, you can get the dirt in these guys and get them locked up and et cetera, et cetera. Or if she also has the attitude of, like, that's not good enough. Like, if I went and got Batman, he would maybe send these guys to prison. They'd probably buy their ways out. The Joker's running around rampant. I'm going to have to just go and kill them myself because that's the only way to get this done. Like, just wonder if it ever crossed her mind to be like, I just ask this guy for help. Or if it's just more like, she just wants the, like, no, I want to be hands-on, like the personal satisfaction of killing these people.
She was definitely in it, right? Like, she was definitely drowning it was almost like a fresh wound, I think. And I don't think she could even think, because there was multiple times where Bruce was like trying to reason with her or give her a way out to some extent, but she just like couldn't see it. And so I think at that point she just had like one focus and that was it. Like, I don't even think she could have thought of a different option. She had already made a decision.
Yes.
Because the wounds were probably just so fresh in comparison. You know what I mean?
Although, again, though, it seems like it would have been a couple of years, because it would have been, the dad was murdered by the Joker before he was the Joker, and he's been the Joker for a couple of years.
Yeah,
so.
but Bruce had like 20 years, and he's not over his dad's death. Like, or
That's
his
true,
death.
His little bit at the end as well, when he says just go, he can't endorse her actions. He knows she's not evil, but it's at the end, his little please.
Yeah.
That genuinely brings a tear to my eye. It's like, he doesn't want to be forced to act, but he knows that if she sticks around, he's going to have to.
That's true, yeah. And it's again him bending his own morals to be like, I'm not going to send you down. Like, I don't want to have to lock up my future wife and all of this. He's just like, I'm going to turn the blind eye this once and let you, active serial killer Andrea Beaumont, walk away.
Well, again, she was doing it so like much. Dexter, you kill evil people.
Yeah.
Does it count?
I'm sure if she was killing someone innocent, he probably wouldn't let her go. And then, what do you guys think about the locket at the end?
I love all that kind of stuff. I get really, I get teary at everything though. I cry. I even cry at Revenge of the Sith, and that's not even a great movie.
I love the locket at the end too, where it's just, but it's one of those specific things though, because she puts it in such a place of like, well, if you just never saw that, or like, it goes on that thing. I think that's where the ramp, the Batmobile goes up. Well, if he just zooms past and falls off the wall, just like, but yeah. I mean, like, the Bruce then eventually does that little, just leave Andy, please. Which again, just such a fantastic performance from Kevin Conroy. Just really in his element, this movie. Like, he's always good, but he's particularly good in this.
Now remind me, is the voice of Batman, is he the same one that just passed away recently?
It is, yeah. That's him.
Oh,
that's him.
Sad, yeah.
There's a weird gearing up to start production on this season. It's like, well, he's dead. And then, of course, the other week there,
Harley, right?
Harley Quinn just died, as well.
Bummer.
And she's also in this movie. She's like not playing Harley, but she's playing a different character. And
we're losing them all.
I was just really troubled because I didn't know at the time what it was that she had died of. Apparently, it was MS that got her.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, that's really hard. That's really
like,
hard.
Yeah, because I have a friend, one of my childhood friends currently has MS, so it's just like, oof, boy, just not bring that up the next time I see him, because that's going to be a bummer. But
that's a big one.
Yeah, holy crap, I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, apparently though, Daniel Delaney, who does Andrea, wrote a very touching sort of piece about it, because apparently they were really close friends. But Daniel Delaney was friends with everybody, it turns out. Yeah. Like, listening to go, she was friends with Christopher Reeves, she was friends with Robin Williams, she was friends with this and that, she was friends with that guy. She's just, Daniel Delaney, just everybody loves her.
Wow.
But one thing we are asking though this season, Brittany, is because BTAS was such a seminal show for people growing up on it, when it came out. We're asking the guests what their other favorite cartoons were from back in the day, and again, because I know that you are a very active anime connoisseur these days too. It's like, did you have are you still on all the same old stuff, or have you like your tastes evolved over time?
I think because we used to watch, Saturday morning cartoons, and then my dad, weirdly enough, like really likes cartoons too, like such a dad move, where like he would watch it with us, anything from like Tom and Jerry to anime to Batman to like things like, I don't know, like Reboot. Do you guys know Reboot? Or
yeah, I remember Reboot. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like just the most random things. Or Gargoyles was like our favorite.
Yes.
I love that till today. Like I think it's so good.
I've recently started, because I'm doing a thing where I'm trying to bring back Saturday morning cartoons in my own life. I've started because all of Gargoyles is now on Disney Plus.
Love that. It's so good.
It's one of those weird, because you're going into it like, well, this is going to be dated, and it's like it's a lot of the same people from Batman the animated series, and that's why it's so good, because BTAS was kind of like their testing ground. So they knew what they could do. And then you go over and you watch those opening episodes of Gargoyles. It's like, this is as good as anything that's coming out. Like, adult programming that's coming out today. It's as good a story, and it's as well told. And, there's little things in there, too, that are just so, like, it's a guy, Michael B. Reeves was one of the writers. He is swiping his own ideas from Batman to go over, because like there's an episode where, you know, the cop they hang out with, she accidentally gets shot by one of the gargoyles.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's a big episode. It's all about like gun violence and again vengeance and all this stuff, because Goliath's going out on the tear. It's like, I'm gonna kill them for doing this, and he has to hide the fact that like it was me who did it and stuff like that. It's all about, you know, gun safety and stuff like that in America. And that's all, like, there's an episode of the Batman animated series where Jim Gordon gets shot. It's the same, it has the same exact beats as it goes on.
That's pretty funny, actually. I will say I had this thought the other day where I did think to myself, I feel really lucky that I'm an 89 baby, so 1989. And I had older brothers, so I really got to grow up with a lot of the 80s stuff and 90s stuff. But I can't tell if it's just nostalgia or what it is, but I genuinely think I got to see some of the best cartoons ever made. And I don't know that they'll be topped. Like even Batman Beyond is really good. I liked it. Like I liked so much from that era of just Captain Planet to Dexter's Lab to even Johnny Bravo's so funny. And I'm sitting here thinking like, what is the new thing? Like if I ever became a parent right now, what would I raise my kids on?
Yeah.
Probably what I was raised on.
I mean, that's the natural instinct, because we're not in touch with you know, the culture of children. I wouldn't know what's
Gosh,
cool.
I don't know what kids are watching. Like, how should I know that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I have several friends who have kids, so I know exactly what kids are watching.
Yeah, but that's because you have
Perfect.
direct connection. Yeah, like you look after the kids sometimes.
And of course, the big thing at the minute is Bluey, which is just like dominating the world right now.
Yeah, see, I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is. Is it a whale? Is it a dog?
It's a little blue dog called Bluey. I got caught out, and I wonder if they did it intentionally, because you watch it and it's a little dog called Bluey, and they have a sister and stuff like this. And it was shocked to me to find out that Bluey was a girl, because in your mind it's like, no, blue is boy and pink is girl.
I love this breaking gender expectations and norms.
I wonder that, because every time you bring it up to people too, they're like, "Oh, you sexist piece of crap! You just assume because she's blue that she must be a boy." And it's like, I don't know, it's coded into me. What do you want from me? But
yeah.
Oh wait, am I crazy? Wasn't Blue's Clues? Wasn't Blue a girl?
I don't know if I ever saw Blue's Clues.
Oh, hang on, I think you might be right. Yeah, I did see it.
That was really weird too. That was like a new gender bend as well. But like, yeah, that's so interesting not to have a connection. And like, I have siblings who have children, but like they are raising them on like Darkwing Duck and Rocket Power, and they're raising them on, you know, just like the stuff we grew up with. So even they're going to be, I'm so curious how those kids are going to turn out, because they're growing up on a farm as well. And I'm like, okay, like let's see if they connect to kids their age when they really start socializing, you know, with a lot of kids. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I need to know the outcome. Let me know. Get back in touch with us.
I'll keep the world posted, because honestly, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Everyone's just being born and raised into these little families, and like everyone's like having nostalgia. Like right now, I told my brother, I was like, you are giving your kids nostalgia. Like you are raising their future. Like it's so weird to think about. My parents probably didn't even think about it when they turned on TV.
Yeah.
They probably just thought like, oh, this is nice and this is like decent and you can watch this. But like they gave me memories. Like it's my child. Like for us, let's say for adults, it's your Tuesday, but for your children, it's their childhood.
100% correct. Yeah, I think my parents were just like, "Oh, this movie will keep John quiet for 2 hours. There you go. Yeah, stick that on. That'll shut you up."
I think the big concern though with little kids is that it's YouTube. Is the thing, and I know, like, not to knock your chosen sort of medium, Brittany, but like it's not stuff that you're doing. It's like I know kids who will sit for hours watching unboxing videos.
Oh, I would have done that as a kid, though. I would have done the same thing. You know?
Really? Yeah. Unboxing kids' toys or unboxing like tech?
But mostly toys.
Okay,
and then they'll act out little scenarios with the toys. But it's like, well, you know, these toy characters. You can see them in scripted dramas and stuff, which are much more sophisticated and better for you in terms of, like, this is a better story you're getting than some asshole and his hands, all of them going, oh, the Joker's escaped from blah, 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 and things like that. But yeah, I know a kid he'll watch Batman the anime series and love it, but then he'll spend 3 hours watching, like, inane garbage on YouTube that's just, like, people, you know, Blippy and things like this, where you're just like, oh my god, it's so it's awful. But I'm sure though, in my childhood, there's probably other things that were like, my parents were going, what the hell is this absolute garbage?
I bet my parents hated every single thing I was watching, you know.
The one that I kind of agree for now, though, in terms of like, I wonder if it's going to fall through the cracks, is that one of the best cartoons that came out in recent years was Gravity Falls, which was a 2-season show, Disney XD. Amazing program. Just like properly, you could watch it as an adult and fully enjoy it. It's just like it's not kids in the way that like The Simpsons is a kids show, that kind of thing. But they very consciously did 2 seasons. They're like, this is the story. Begins, it's set over one summer. There is the ending.
I love that.
It used to be played like every day on Disney XD, and you come in and you watch Gravity Falls. But now that show is 10 years old, and it's a blip, and it's off the TV schedules. It's just been forgotten by people, and it's like, there's not enough of it to kind of keep it going in the cultural ether. So my concern is like, that's gonna get forgotten, man, because like you need these things to be in syndication, running all the time for kids to see them over and over and over again. But this was just there, and then it was gone.
That's true, because when we were kids, a lot of stuff I watched, when you actually look it up now, you find out, there was only like 1 season of that show. But in my mind, it ran for like 10 years.
Yeah. It's something like Captain Planet, where it's just like, you could tell me there was 10 episodes of Captain Planet or there were 600. Yeah. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. This is so interesting. I just Googled Gravity Falls, and I know this animation, but I never watched the show. And it has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it has like a 90-something percent. What is it? 98.9 out of 10
there you go.
From IMDb and 96% from Google users. Like, this show is so liked.
It is fantastic. Like it's genuinely.
But that supports what you're saying in a way. Like nowadays, there isn't that room for something to sort of build in people's consciousness and mind and nostalgia. Like you don't ruminate on it and things. You just. I'm not saying kids are stupid, but nowadays you just move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I think now content comes out much faster, whereas. One of the things that Gravity Falls is kind of based on is Erie, Indiana.
Yes.
The 90s, Erie, Indiana was like just, kid moves to Erie, Indiana. Weird stuff happens. I think there was only like 1 or 2 seasons of that, but that left an impact.
Yeah,
because
it was just such
vividly. Whoa, yeah.
Here's the question. How often did you guys rewatch things as children? Because I wonder if kids now are rewatching as much as like I've probably rewatched similar animes like multiple times. Yeah. I've rewatched all the old cartoons. Like you said, you're rewatching Gargoyles. I mean, literally as a family, we have rewatched and rewatched and rewatched. So the like inside jokes are still all quotes from like our childhood. And so now the younger kids are mimicking the lines, and like they've seen all Magic School Bus. They've seen all of like what we grew up with. They've seen all of Bugs Bunny. They've seen all of. So you think about it and it's like, yeah, if you're rewatching, but nowadays, are people rewatching?
No, I think that's the problem. I don't think they are. Because there's so much and so much new stuff every 5 seconds. It's like, I'm not going to rewatch that because there's a new one out.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. That's so funny. Huh.
That's me and John in particular, and a lot of our friends communicate in like Simpsons memes.
Yeah.
Like lines from The Simpsons that we know because we watched those episodes back in the 90s
100
10
times.
million times. Yeah. But now, like nowadays, it's like, well, I ever rewatch like even rewatching one film within the same year is like a big thing for me. It's like, I saw it like 6 months ago. Like, why would I watch that again? But
sometimes as a kid, I would put the same movie on every day in a week.
Yeah,
I'd watch Ghostbusters 7 days straight.
Oh, for sure.
That's one of the things I'm kind of conflicted about with the whole actors-writers strike. Is that like because it's going to put a hold on content, and eventually new stuff's going to stop coming out because everyone's on strike. And one way is like I hope those people get their money and all that, but it's also like that might be a blessing because now people can go like we can just go and reevaluate things that are already there's already so much stuff out. We can just go and look at the stuff that's already there, or rewatch the things that we've already seen, and sort of take it on. The art's not temporary anymore. Things come out and as it goes, it's forgotten or whatever.
Well, especially when all these streaming services decide to just remove the stuff anyway, like it never existed.
So you can come out and savor the thing that like so much time and effort was put into making, and then you watch it like one time and then it's flittered it away, like it's just in the back of your memory bank somewhere. Yeah. Now you can come and go like that work all meant something. We can take the level of effort and appreciation would have gone into like lighting in a certain scene to get the shots exactly done right, and it's just not appreciated at all because there's a constant churning thing of content. But people always call it content.
There you go. You said it. Content right there.
Yeah. So, but again, that's my thing of like I would never without the conscious effort to go like, people keep talking about gargoyles. I can remember watching it a little bit when I was a kid. I'm going to give this thing a fair shake. And then watching it, I'm like, this is incredible. Like, it's so well made. It's such a good show. But, and yeah, then also my recommendation to you, Brittany, is both Promising Young Woman and Gravity Falls, very different entities.
I wrote them down. I'm stoked. I definitely will check them out.
Yay.
I know, again, the Promising Young Woman was the thing I imagine you would have a great time with just on your channel and discussing the morality of what's at play here, because it set the world alight for not the world alight. The people who watch it set them alight for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. But yeah, the only other note I have for this minute is, of course, that ANDREA just, she's Audi 5000. She just says, let's offer smoke plume. A thing I don't think we ever brought up before is that the reason the Phantasm is all about smoke and stuff is because the writer Alan Burnett was reading a Spider-Man comic with Mysterio. And he was like, oh, that's cool. Like, smoke. Like, I want a character we don't have a Batman character who's all about smoke. And so then he's just like, the Phantasm. Smoke. That's the whole deal. Smoke everywhere, all the time. Smoking right up your ass.
Love it.
Yeah. But yeah. I'm all noted out for minute 64 then.
Yeah, likewise. We will then head off into the dark, dark night. Brittany, would you like to tell people where they can find you online, find your content, as we call it?
My content. Become obsessed. Make me your new nostalgia. No. You can find me, Brittany Simon, on YouTube, basically everywhere. That's where you can find me. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a great time, like always.
Hey.
Oh, always a pleasure, Brittany.
Yes, thank you. One of our
to come back this
top guests.
hiatus. Yeah, have to come back this next hiatus to talk about Poison Ivy 2.
Oh my god, we genuinely should do that as like a joke, even though I know the second one's going to be trash.
So didn't you? I think you had to buy like a multi-DVD pack or something. I remember you saying like, I think you already have Poison Ivy 2 in your possession, Brittany. Well, maybe you might have left it in America. To be fair.
I did. I only took the essentials to Europe. My cat and like 3 luggages. So I did leave it.
Poison Ivy 2 is an essential. What are you doing?
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I did not bring it.
So you have a choice between the cat or the Poison Ivy DVD. Like,
sorry.
I mean, that second movie I've heard it's not as good, but it is still worth watching.
I genuinely think we should do it. We'll look into that for you, listeners. We'll look into that. Just find us everywhere. Batminute. Put it into all the socials. It doesn't matter. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on all of them. We're stupid. We even have a Mastodon for the 1 week everyone used that. Well, you can find us on X. We haven't got an X videos, but we could make one now. We could do that on the site alongside our OnlyFans coming soon.
Much like that Poison Ivy review, people will click on it and they're like, there's no sex in this, it's just people talking the whole time. God damn.
Hey, you know what? That could be our niche. That's what we're going to do. And what else we're going to do is go. And you can join us again next time for minute 65 of Bat Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time, Tiny Town Adventures. No? We bid Andy adieu as she seemingly evaporates, while Batman takes the bait to prevent the Joker's escape. Oh, it's such a classic scenario. The trail runs cold at a miniature future city of old. But could the smirking czar of the bazaar's latest caper involve going incognito as a creeping skyscraper? It's more like Gullible's travels on Wednesday, Bat fans. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
I must have up, if it be to